One of the most sobering moments in a speaker's career is when you finally realize maybe I should look into hiring a speaker coach to help with my messaging, create my keynote, and get some experience on stage. Well, my name is Marty Dickinson, founder of Speaker Speak Group and Speaker Speak Live. One of the great things I get to do is meet speakers and people who support speakers around the country and in other countries around the world. I'd like to introduce you to two people I've met recently right here in my home state of Denver, Colorado. Gary Barnes and Cheryl DeVaughn are a tag team duo like I've never seen in the speaking business before. They have an event coming up in February of 2025 that we'd like to introduce you to and have you get to know them a little bit. This is a little longer of a segment than I usually record, but for the right people, you're going to want to get to know them and what is so special about their approach to working with speakers to get them up to the point where decision makers are ready and willing and eager to hire them. So I'll put the website across the screen here for the events. So those of you who need to know all the facts within 10 seconds, you can go right to that website and see if this upcoming event is right for you. But for the rest of you, I encourage you to get to know Gary and Cher and sit in on this interview where I ask some pretty in-depth questions of them and their background and why they have this speaking program of theirs that's called the Breakthrough Speaker Mastery Bootcamp. Welcome once again. My name is Marty Dickinson, founder of Speaker Speak Group and Speaker Speak Live. And I have two very special guests with me today, Gary Barnes and Cheryl DeVaughn. And, I actually, when I first met Cheryl, all I heard at Gary's conference was Cher, Cher, Cher. So I thought, who is this Cher person? It wasn't until much later that I realized her actual name is Cheryl. But that was I got a clue finally. I was like, oh, okay, put two and two together. Gary is pretty easy to figure out, except for the fact that I have known I wanted to go to Gary's event for at least 15 years. Why it took me so long to finally go to one of his events, I cannot answer that question. But hopefully, you listening to this today will not make that same mistake. So, Cher, I'm going to refer to you as Cher because that is embedded in my mind. And Gary, welcome to both of you.
Well, thank you so much. It's really great being here.
Thank you so much, Marty. And yeah, you can call me Cher all day long.
So what I'd like to do is I'm going to start out with an introduction that I've prepared based on information on their website, and then I'm going to follow this up with a specific question about the event that we're going to be talking about today. So here we go. Gary Barnes is known as the Breakthrough Business Mastery Coach, specializing in high performance business and sales strategies. An award winning international speaker and #1 Amazon best-selling author of 9 books. He has delivered over 1,000 talks across 7 countries. As the founder of Gary Barnes International, he has generated over 280 million in sales and has been featured in prominent media outlets such as ABC, CBS, and TEDx. Gary's unique approach combines personal experience with proven strategies, helping clients transform their businesses and achieve significant growth. Now, Cheryl is known as the Word Whisperer. She is a dynamic MC and media expert with 2 decades experience in the radio industry. She is a 3-time #1 rated radio morning show host, podcast host, keynote speaker, and Amazon best-selling author. She has captivated global audiences and voiced commercials nationwide. As the founder of Speaking with Cher, she specializes in communication strategies that connect voices to messages, helping clients launch successful campaigns and narrate best-selling books. Now, my follow-up question to that introduction is this. You two are a dynamic duo. The two of you together is pure magic. in your event. So my question is, how did both of you come together to join forces?
I was speaking in Arizona at an event, and Cher was there, and she was an attendee, and we met, and she asked me to if it would be okay afterwards. She was looking at some medical challenges, and many people, my first book is about my experience being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I said, of course. So we got together on the phone. And at the end of that conversation, she said, I want you to be my coach. And I was so excited that I said, no, you're not. And because at that moment, I knew that if I had said yes, I would have violated my own ethics. She came to me for medical kind of challenges and experiences. And all of a sudden, it went into a financial, connection. And so I said, no, no. I said that there was a second time I told her, no, I don't remember it, but I am older, not old. And, and I'll let Cher take it from there.
It wasn't even at the end of that first conversation. It was about halfway through. And I knew that in that moment, just my ease in chatting with him. And I did go in originally to ask him about some medical questions. As you know, in his first book, he had the diagnosis of MS, autoimmune, and these different things going on. And I was going through testing. So I definitely did want information from him. I felt like I could trust him with that. And as the conversation went on and we began going down rabbit holes of business and speaking and things like that, it quickly occurred to me, this guy is the right fit for me. This is the guy I'm looking to hire as my business coach, because I had had some less than fortunate experiences with a business coach in the past and with other coaches. So when I asked him, he did. He flat out said no and explained his position, and I respected that. So I scheduled the follow up the week after and was very surprised when we went through the details. And he said, no, again, I need to make certain that this is the right thing for you. And at that point, I'm like, is this guy jacking with me? What is happening? As I've as I've come to know Gary, he gets these nudges, and he knows when it's the right time for business and when it's the right fit. Now, I'd like to believe that he knew we were the right fit from the first meeting.
I did.
What I've come to learn is that I wasn't committed yet. I was still juggling a few others, and he needed to be certain where it didn't just flame out. Gary saw potential in me that I didn't see in that moment. And he wanted to make certain that it was the right step. You know, with his decades of experience, he knows, and he's very cognizant of those sorts of things. He can just tell. He can read the room so quickly and so easily. And after he finally said yes on the third try, because I was irritated on that third try, he finally said yes, and I'm like, finally, all right, let's get to work. And here we are, what, 3 years later? It's only been 3 years, Gary. My goodness.
I just at this moment, hearing you describe this, realized something. I didn't want to be the rebound coach.
Kind of like dating, you just don't want to be that rebound.
It is
Well, you're
sometimes
not.
like,
It's a lasting relationship, so.
and I asked that question for a specific reason. I mean, we are here to let people know about this amazing event you have for people who are just getting into professional speaking, or they're wanting to use speaking to build their business. And those are two totally different tracks of speaking. And I asked you that question because I wanted you to demonstrate your personal ability to tell a story. And that's what I realized when I went to your business growth boot camp a few weeks ago, that the whole both days that I attended were full of storytelling point. in a way that is much different than the way people tell stories. So I wanted to kind of dive into that. I mean, we're talking about this breakthrough speaker mastery event that you have coming up, and this is in February of 2025. You have these periodically throughout the year, but that's the one that we're talking about today. And my question is, why do you feel that that it's the perfect time in history today to be in the speaking business or to use speaking to build your business?
So I'll let Cher go first on this one, then I'll follow up and correct it.
I see how you are. No, there's no correction. There might be differences, but there is no correction on there because everyone, and that's one of the things that Gary and I are quick to convey within Speaker Mastery, the Breakthrough Speaker Mastery Bootcamp, is there are going to be different ways to get to the same finish line. There are different paths, and what we encourage is for you to find what works for you and to be true to yourself with that. We customize in such a way that you do get to bring your own unique take and skill set to the business of speaking, if you will. I think right now is the perfect time to implement speaking. I mean, think about all the things that are going on with, all the election and political things. Think about the way that we have moved from, say, an in-person market much to a global market online. Communication and speaking effectively is the way that you can ensure that you're going to stay alive next year or the year after. After, COVID had happened to us, we had to relearn how to do business and how to speak to one another. We encourage you and show you all the different steps on how to make that business work for you with speaking. If you don't have a clear and effective message, if you can't get your story across or get your voice heard, you're not going to make it. And we're not going to let that happen. That's what we're here for, is to make sure your voice is always heard, regardless of the changing situation and circumstances.
Correct. People ask me, yeah, so there I go. So nice setup. The people ask me quite often how long I have been speaking, and my answer always is since about the age of 2. And the reality is that everyone speaks in their business. Everyone communicates in some way, whether it be on a personal or professional level. It's whether or not we're understood. Are we communicating in a way that the listener can understand and assimilate and use what we're sharing? And and Marty, I know you really dive into this too, is that it's not talking at an audience or at a person, is talking with them. Right. And so doing this, there is a Garyism. One of my Garyisms is launch and adjust and elevate and separate. And the idea there is how many people, when you tell them you're a professional speaker or that you speak on stages, they go, well, I'm glad you do it. I'm scared to do it. And the reality is, going back to the concept of storytelling, is people forget facts. They remember stories. And the stories where we all go to movies, and the good movies where the movie ends and we're part of the movie and we hate to see it. I remember one of the Lord of the Rings movies. I'm not a reader. I am an author, but I'm not a reader. And Frodo was on looking out into the fjord and the credits start, and I'm going, oh, and my wife is sitting next to me, and I went, hey, it can't be. I go, when's the next movie? She goes, 3 years. I go, no, I'm part of this movie. And so when we have this ability and understanding that the story is not about us, we're the subject, but we're not the message. And so how to tell the story to where it's not about look at me, it's about sharing an experience, it's sharing a process, sharing, the ideas that can actually benefit those that are listening to us, and doing it in such a way that you're encompassing, because
Encompass-
encompassing. See, I even make up word. At least I've
Yes,
heard it.
all of the time, but that's what
Encompassing.
I'm here for.
I am not dying yet. But the thing is that all people, humans, take in information, either auditory, visual, or kinesthetic. And when we are speaking, we have a tendency to think it's all about the auditory. If you do that, you're missing 2/3 of the audience. And so it's because in a general audience, we have no idea really that personality, that learning attribute that each of them have. So, you know, if we're not using speaking in our businesses and even in just in general life, we're missing a big opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the reason that I wanted to have this interview too is so that viewers could see your true selves. I mean, you two are some of the most authentic people I've met in the business. There's no hiding anything. I mean, when I was sitting there listening to what you were presenting the whole couple of days I was there, it was consistent. I felt like I knew you by the end of it, and I think that's true because we met afterwards, and I saw that same consistency. And I don't see that with everybody, especially with speaker coaches, people that are bringing new speakers into their programs, charging them thousands of dollars, and then the students walk out, and are they prepared? Not always. So I wanted to, Gary, and you in particular, because you've seen speaker coaches grow over periods of time. And so you know everybody out there. What is your evaluation of the speaking coaching industry, and why do you do things differently the way that you do?
One of the biggest challenges is once in a while a speaker's system. Let's go to the system, not just the coach, because a lot of them have gone to a very large process. Is that it's a body shop where they'll put a whole lot of people into a room. They'll give you the information, but they do not give you the ability to use it, to hang it on a hook, to know what it feels like to be on that stage, how to get some reference about what they do and be able to do some tips on how to do it maybe a little differently to really connect and land whatever that point is. And unfortunately, because speaking has become one of those favorite topics for people to make money, they have done it in a way that what you just said. I met a woman who had gone to a large program, had invested $7,000 to be in a room, as she put it, to be upsold to a $20,000 program where they were really going to give her, and there was 300 people in that room that paid $7,000. And now her family won't let her do anything else because of that really bad experience. And this
Wow.
woman has an amazing story. The that's the real challenge here is people are not getting how to use the art of speaking. It's not a science, it's truly an art. Because, like Cher just said a little bit earlier, we have introverts that come, and all of a sudden, they are the most impactful introverts you have ever met. And then, so
Mhm.
you don't have to be a certain personality. And you can use it in any way. In fact, I was at a meeting earlier today where 3 of our alumni were there that are all 3 introverts, and you couldn't get them to shut up. I mean, it was just amazing. It's wonderful. And they were articulate. They were really engaging. And everybody's around there going, "What happened?" And they go, "We went to Gary's event." And so, so for me, the ability to speak is one thing and to communicate. But what we have actually done also is added 2 other elements. One is how to be in the business of speaking. You alluded to it earlier. The other thing that I don't know of any other program out there that are doing it this way, but because Cher has, I'm not, I was going to say decades and decades, but many years of
A couple of decades.
radio,
Right.
we bring in the media training, which how to speak in sound bites. I remember once I was asked to be on Good Morning Baltimore. I flew on a red eye back to Baltimore, got wined and dined, picked up, went on to the show. I had 3 minutes and only a minute and 25 seconds to where I actually could explain about why I was there. If I didn't know how to speak in sound bites, it would have been a waste of money and I would have been invited back. And so the uniqueness of what we have done is made it very practical, very usable, and allow people to come out and accentuate their raw talents that everybody in our minds has. It's just many people, the first thing that people want with their children when they're born is to walk and talk. And as soon as they do, they're told to shut up and sit down. And so to be able to have that voice and see that each person has a story, each person has a message, and each person has value.
Wonderful. That's awesome. And it goes right into my next question for Cher, because Cher, I'd like you to expand on that, what Gary just said about learning how to talk in sound bites. What does radio experience bring to this project that a new speaker wants to go through to develop themselves to get on paid stages?
Well, it isn't just radio. I started, believe it or not, in television. And I mean, in news reporting, it has to be in short little blurbs in order to make the cut of the news segment. The reason that I went into radio is I didn't have a lot of creative control. And as Gary will tell you, and from your own experience, I think a little bit outside the box. I don't like to just be in that little tiny place. So within the 22 years of radio, I learned quickly how to tell that story and how to speak with my preferred audience, which we still had, certain breaks, whether it was on a music format or a different format, we still had very limited pieces of time before we had to go to, a station identification break or, pay the bills with the advertising. So we had to learn not only how to ask the questions of specific people in a short, succinct way to get the information we were looking for, but to guide them to give us that short answer so they're not going on trailing all over the place. We're late for our breaks. Oh, and by the way, the listener got bored and hit the channel. That for us in that particular field. So you learn how to tell those stories in just boom, 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 boom bites, and yet get so much information packed in and leave people that are listening or watching wanting more. And that's what that brings to the table. And Gary, I think you're right. I don't think there is, at least not from our research, I don't think there is another boot camp that offers that sort of thing.
No.
It's a big differentiator for sure. And I want to go into a little bit of detail about the event itself. So again, this is called the Breakthrough Speaker Mastery Program, and it is a 3-day event. What is the official date in February 2025?
It is February, like I said, I'm a professional speaker, 28 and 29 and March 1. We do it on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
And it's leap
And
year, so we do have a February 29th.
Oh, okay.
That's why you said 28th, 29th, and 1st, correct?
But I didn't connect that it was leap year. And I was born in February, so you just go figure.
Uh-huh.
And just talk about the logistics a little bit about this. Where is it, and where is a hotel nearby, and all that kind of thing, just so people have an idea.
Right, currently it's between two hotels. There's one out by the airport at DIA. It's going to be here in Denver, Colorado, or the one that we just did, the last one where you were at in Parker, called the Parker Hotel. It has a fabulous room, and it is set up as a studio. I mean, it's a stage, lighting. We have professional sound. So it is not just a meeting room where we throw people in and talk at them for 3 days. And so we bring them in. Within the first hour, everyone is on stage for the first time. They're on stage 4 times during the event. And so it's very interactive. It goes by very quickly. But what we look for is even going to the concept of so what to so that. Why are they wanting to use and how are they wanting to use speaking in their business, in their life? Are they wanting to use it for the larger stages in the media? We really hone in on, okay, it's really doing the start with the end in mind. And so we back up and we're able to customize because we only allow maximum 14 people in the room.
Mm.
Right.
So there's a lot of hand holding with this. We go into the business of speaking as far as uh, all of our contracts, the landing pages for our websites, our one sheets, all of that is included. We don't do it for them, but we give them the framework for them to take away. We provide a professional photographer to take their headshots. We provide a professional videographer to film them on stage doing their talk as well as doing the interview with Cher. And so they're coming away with actual usable material to show meeting planners, hey, and by the way, this is a national stage, and legitimately they can say they have spoken on a national stage.
Yeah.
And so the ability that a lot of people say, I want to be a speaker, when they leave, they are a speaker. Now, they're going to get better. I had a woman come to me about 10 years ago and she had heard me before that, and she goes, "Wow, you got good." And I went, "Well, wait a minute, what was I before?" And she goes, "Well, you're okay, but you got good." And I go, "I hope so. Doing this enough, you're going to change, you're going to adapt." We help people design and craft their opening signature story when people are most nervous. What is that story that you're going to open with, your signature opening? And then we get in. I created what is called the train formula, how to design a talk. And this formula, people have just loved it because it's so easy to, not only design a talk, but to adjust a talk. Marty, I know that you've been around long enough to where you'll go to a talk and they'll go, "Oh, golly, we gave you 45 minutes. Can you do your talk in 15? Or you
Right.
had 45 minutes. Can you do 90?"
Yeah,
This
sometimes that
process
happens too.
allows for that.
Hmm.
And,
It
the,
works too. Mm. It totally works. I had to use it at the business boot camp. As
yes,
a matter of fact, we had some technical issues with the timer, and I had to cut different pieces and still make the point. And so I used the train car formula. Boom, boom, boom. Marty, I think you heard it. Could you tell there was anything going
I
on?
couldn't tell, no. I'm hearing it now for the first
That's how good
time.
it works. That's how effective it is.
Ah, that's awesome.
so
Yeah, that's
we also help them design their signature story, the story that you're going to get so tired of saying and telling. But the beaver story is my how a beaver saved my life is my most requested talk. I am
mm,
very sick of telling that story. So, it's like going to your favorite concert with your favorite oldies band. If they don't play that song that they have played 1,010 times over, you are disappointed. And so
true.
that is crafted. And so when they leave, it's a complete package. Now they're going to be able to adjust it, and we work with them. We actually give them a couple of bonus sessions afterwards and a couple of bonus sessions before on Zoom to get them ready to do the event. And then afterwards, we give them this additional time. What are they needing? What are the things that they have found that they're struggling with? So it's not just, "Hi, thank you, good luck, and we're going off to the next group." That's not about what this program does.
I think that's one of the features that makes us so unique. One of the benefits that our attendees walk away with is we're always accessible. We want them to succeed. It's not a matter of, oh good, you've been in, great, here we go. Thanks so much. Let's cash in. We're good. No, 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 no. Gary and I want you to win. And that way, if you have questions along the way, we have, our Facebook alumni group, things like that. So if they're needing some questions answered, if they need a little support, if they need to try something out, we're there for them if they want it. But we always make ourselves accessible to our attendees.
But Sher, I think one thing that's interesting about you as well is that you're not only the co-producer of this event, but you're also a student of Gary's. So I'm curious, looking back, if you did not take this training from Gary, how would life be different for you? And I'm thinking of having you answer this on behalf of other people that are out there that are thinking, oh gosh, here's another, 3-day coaching event that I need to pay for and go to. I mean, it's really confusing out there because there are just so many programs, so many online courses you can take, and you think you get the same thing by spending $50 or going to a big show and like you $10,000 with 300 people, like what you were talking about, and then you get upsold to 20. It's just ridiculous how many different varieties there are out there. So see if you can encompass this into a way that people can understand what they would be missing if they do not attend this event.
I wasn't always Gary's media trainer. I went through this speaker boot camp originally and went through with, I think there were 8 in my class, Gary, if I recall correctly. I went through it because, and here's the funniest part is, much like most people, I didn't think I could speak on stages. Now, it didn't matter that I had a 22-year career in radio, that I had done television before. In my head, getting on a stage and speaking a story, what could I possibly have to share with anyone that would be of interest? Had I not gone through that, I may have just gotten rid of all of my equipment. I would have never done podcasting again. I would have stopped doing the things that are me at my core. Had I not go through Gary's business boot camp, and had I not hired him to be my coach, I am 100% certain I wouldn't be in business. I wouldn't have had a business. I wouldn't have the confidence that I've got back without him, because I knew all the things that I was good at. I knew all the things that I loved doing. I did not have an understanding of how to put together and create a business for it. That's where he is a genius on this. And whether it's in the speaker boot camp or in the business boot camp, is I come with the ability to speak. I mean, I've been on stages in front of 40,000 people, but I didn't think it applied to any of this before because I couldn't see the business. I didn't know how to implement it. I didn't know what I didn't know. And it took a very short period of time with Mr. Barnes here to all of a sudden have a framework for a business. I could see it. I could suddenly see it, and it's evolved over time and it continues to evolve. But I'm not certain I would have a business. I'm not certain I would have a marriage. I'm not certain I would have anything of who I truly am had I not gone through those couple of different events.
You would have been alone. You would have been alone out there. And that's
had no voice, nothing.
It's the most disturbing thing I see of most of the new speakers that come into this business is they try to do it alone. They search Google, they watch YouTube videos, they are now using AI, of course, to answer questions, and they think that's enough to get by. And then I talk to them less than a year later, and they're looking for a job because they cannot sustain the business on their own, but they don't know that's the problem. I mean, you have to find some group to hang around that is doing this and learn how to do it properly. And that's why you're positioned in the perfect spot to be able to offer this. So I want to talk a little bit. Let's go back to, I mean, this is going to certain people that I know that are in Speaker Speak Live, Speaker Speak Group. So, I'm real upfront with people, and this is not something you do for free. There's a charge for it. You have a hotel to pay for, there's travel expenses to pay for, all of that. And let's go back to where you said, I think you said $7,000 to attend one of these big conferences with 30,000 people, and you don't walk out of there with what you need. So what are you charging for this? Now that we know people are going to walk out with what they need, what do they need to invest in?
So the first thing is, I love the word what you just said, invest. because when you say invest, you're expecting a return on that investment. It's not how much do you spend. Um, we, on purpose, have kept the investment. I know it's going to be a number that some people say it's not low, but it's $39.97 to come for all 3 days. And we also provide lunch, and there's other materials that we give them. Um, but we didn't want to make money a challenge, where it was like 7, 10, 15,000, $20,000 to get that information. Um, it, so we take as much of that away. And yes, this is not, we will not ever retire charging those rates
Right.
in this event. This is somewhat of a love give back because of the quality and what we bring in, because we don't take away the value of our professionals that we bring in to do the videography and the photography and all that. They don't give us, or they're nice to us, but they're not giving us a break. It's their regular rates because we honor that because of what they do for our clients. And, I remember when I started investing in myself, who I know Cher probably has around the same number. The last time I calculated it was over $500,000 that I put into myself for me. And so, and people say, well, that's a big number. Did you get the return? I go, well, yes. But it did it. And I would say this too. These things don't happen overnight. I remember a gentleman, a young guy came in to the business boot camp, and we were helping him with his speeches. And he got his first gig at the university he was attending, and they paid him $9,000. And he was so excited, but they bought $10,000 worth of his books. And so he got really excited, but he is now selling cars, like what you were talking about, because he thought it was always going to be like that. And I said, you never paid your dues. You never did the things that, that doesn't mean that those things can't happen up front. But, one of the biggest things that I hope everybody takes away from our conversation today is from Cher and I call myself the kid next door, because what we understand is everything we have done and also still do. We're still on stages. I'm on a major program tomorrow that is going around the world. So it's just like, yeah, so this is not something we did, 10, 15 years ago, and we hope it still works. But the concept is anything we have done, you can do. If Mikey can do it, anybody can do it. And so the thing that you were alluding to is we give the step by step if they want to take and develop it through the journey that and by the way, Cher and I don't always agree.
No, oh heavens, no.
Can't imagine.
And so we play off that this is not the way, this is a way, this is Gary's way, this is Cher's way. And so we want people to take the nuggets from all of these different areas and create their system that they will implement for themselves.
The beauty is his way and my way tend to, there's quite a bit of overlap there,
Oh, yeah.
but the parts that don't overlap, they tend to fit together fairly well. They mesh. So if you take one piece from Gary and one piece from mine, you are going to get to that same finish line. And I think that's what makes it so much fun to work with Gary is, there isn't a singular way. He gets it. He sees it the same way that I do, the way that I've done, whether it's, in radio, in my podcasts, in the business with my clients, is there's a couple of different ways to get there, and it works. I mean, we don't shove one way down your throat. We encourage you to find those pieces that work you and mesh them together, and that's why it's so much fun to work with Gary.
The story that just popped into my mind, you talk about stories and I get nudges, is Michelangelo in carving David. And when he was asked, how did he carve David? His answer was, I didn't carve David. I released David out of the marble. And that's really what we're doing, is all we're doing is releasing what is already there showing them how they can use it for their purpose, for their audience, for the results that they're wanting to do. Some people that have come through are using it just for podcasting. Some of it is in their business, how to do a better job in their corporate job in communicating and doing board meetings, and if they happen to do a shareholders meeting, and instead of just the facts man, just the facts, but how to really share the purpose of the organization. So really what we're doing is really fun, because as people come in and have permission to be themselves and to look at how this can benefit them, the light bulbs go on, and it's just a lot of fun.
Even the introverts.
Even the introverts.
It doesn't
That's
feel
awesome.
like
Which
work.
it's
It feels
amazing the high percentage of people who are in the speaking world who are introverts. They consider themselves introverts. So we've all
Oh,
gone through some sort of transformation process to be able to get on that stage and do our best. So I just love it.
yeah, most people, like you say, that on the circuit that I've known, and movie stars and actors, musicians, for the most part, they're introverts. I tell my wife I'm an introvert, and she says, "You're lying to me again." And, it's just like, but, you can be whoever you want to be, whoever you truly are. So if you want to be that effervescent, Tony Robbins type of speaker, that's great. Or you can be the Zig Ziglar, or the Mark Victor Hansen, Jack Canfield. In fact, Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield are diametrically opposed speaking talents. I mean, it's amazing. So there is no one right way, is what we're saying.
You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you aren't. You don't have to get all schmaltzy or schwarmy or icky, or what I like to call one of those pitch slappers. You can and do. You can share your message and do have something incredibly valuable and important to give to others. And there's no reason why we can't find a way to let your personality come through, to let your voice shine, to take your voice from maybe invisible, the way I felt mine was, to invincible. That's what we're there for.
Well, I hope that provided enough details for you to make a logical decision whether Gary and Cher's program is right for you. You have time to sign up for that in February, but you don't have a lot of time because only 14 people are allowed in each one of their sessions. And if you wait until the next one, well, you might just be another year older when you finally decide to do it. So why put it off? This is your chance right now to sign up and go through the Breakthrough Speaker Mastery Bootcamp with Gary Barnes and Cheryl DeVaughn. So again, here's the website. I'll put that up for you, and I hope to see you there. This is Marty Dickinson with Speakers Speak Group and Speakers Speak Live. We'll see you then.